Hi, this is Joseph Williams, son of John Williams, and you are watching the Nerfherder Council.
As Mr. Joseph Williams said, welcome to another episode of the Nerfherder Council. I am your host, JT. With me is my very good friend because he happens to be my brother, AJ,
Hey.
my co-host. What is up, man?
Hey, doing good, man. How you doing tonight?
I am doing good. As usual, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. You can also get customizable Nerfherder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. So we are waiting for Steve. He is conspicuous by his absence. We haven't gotten text messages or anything. He fell asleep. He forgot. We did. My phone did not go off. So
yeah,
what is Steve's
lost
excuse?
Power. He lost power and his computer is restarting.
Oh, look at that.
That great Parma power grid.
Right. So real quick, I'm excited. Like I would pull it off from off camera, but I actually bought 2 pieces of Star Wars merch within the last week. I finally tracked down the Star Wars Hasbro 6-inch Black Series Jar Jar Binks at a local Target. I've been looking for that, so I got Jar Jar for my collection. I do collect the 6-inch series. And
I didn't know they even made a Jar Jar. When did that come out?
Oh, it's cool, man. He's got like the laser shield and everything. Yeah, it's one of the more detailed figures. It was like $30 or something like that. It's cool, man.
Is that a new one?
Yeah, it's newer. Yeah, it's one of the newer ones.
Nice.
But for $10, again, I wish I could pull it out, but for $10 on clearance, I got the life-size Babu Frick plush that talks. So he's got a little button in his foot, and he's like, "I Babu Frick." Like, so
that's
I've got
right. Head go boom.
Yeah. No, actually, I could tell you the line because that's one of them. Droid memory go blank. Blank. Oh. So that's one of the things that he says. But I got that.
Blank. I thought he said bletch, like blank.
Yeah. No, blank. Blank. Yeah. So I got that because we have a little Chihuahua dog and we call him. One of his nicknames is Boo Boo. So I've taken to calling him Boo Boo Frick. So I had to get a Babu Frick. I got a Babu Frick and a Boo Boo Frick. So there you go.
Nice. Which one's bigger?
They're pretty comparable.
I think they're both the same size, right?
I know, right? Same voice, same everything. You know how it is. All right, so why don't we get into it? Tonight's topic is one that that you actually posited, and it is a question that I think is worthy of discussion. You had asked the question. You and I were driving home from work last week and started getting into a discussion, and you had wondered aloud, how much is too much material set between the time period of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope? Obviously, we've got a lot of stuff going on in that. We got Rebels and Rogue One and, all these sorts of things. And I put in the show description, it's ripe for storytelling, but then again, how much do we really need? So why don't you start out and explain why this was a question to you?
Yeah, so, well, we had a couple new things drop this week news-wise, right? We had the Bad Batch trailer that's debuting on Disney Plus on May 4th, and that takes place after Order 66. And then we also got the casting announcement for the Kenobi series, which also takes place between episodes 3 and 4. So it just got me thinking, like, you remember when growing up, we started with episode 4, and the assumption was that basically, like, nothing had really been happening in the galaxy in the lead up to that point, right? Like that was the drop-in point for the story,
Okay.
And then we went and then got the prequel trilogy. Like every time we get a trilogy, we're led to believe like that's the story. So 4, 5, and 6 come out. We're like, all right, that was a good chunk of stories. That's the Star Wars saga. And we always knew there was a possibility for 1, 2, 3 because, we knew it was episode 4, so duh. So then we get the story of Darth Vader in 1, 2, and 3, and again we think, okay, well, great, those 6 movies, that's the story. Like when we leave episode 3, you've got the Empire created, the Jedi are in hiding, so everybody's in place for episode 4. So I always thought, like, well, that's that. Like nothing really happens between those 2 movies. that's why we never heard about it, right?
Okay.
And then now, like, Disney is taking all these opportunities, like you said, Rebels, Rogue One, Fallen Order, the Bad Batch series, the Kenobi series, the Andor series. There might even be some other stuff coming out soon. I know they've told a few comic stories in between the two movies as well. It's like there's a lot of stuff happening between those two movies.
Yeah.
It's hard to really, like I said, I thought that was like the lull. The idea was like the rise of the Empire was episodes 1, 2, and 3, and the fall of the Empire was 4, 5, 6, and in between it was just the Empire being the Empire.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm like, have we reached a saturation point? Like, that was supposed to be a lull in the stories, right? In the action. It was just the Empire doing its thing until the Rebels got their stuff together for Rogue One and Episode 4. Now we find out there's a whole bunch of crap going on. There were Jedi running around that survived Order 66 that we didn't know about. There were clone troopers that stuck around. Apparently the Jedi that were in hiding, like Obi-Wan, apparently he was doing something worthy of telling as a story now. Like, it's just a lot of stuff that feels like maybe it's too much for what's supposed to be a low point in the saga.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, what I will say is what they've talked about so far, I haven't really seen anything that I would really consider to be pointless. There's nothing where they've told a story and I'm like, well, why the hell do we need that? I mean, I guess you could, talk about Solo. But I still think that that's kind of interesting and kind of necessary. Like I
actually forgot about Solo. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, but I also don't think it's pointless. If we didn't have it, it's not like you're sitting there, with bated breath. Well, what the hell? Where did Han Solo and Chewbacca meet? Like, but by the same token, I also don't think it's just like filler. So I mean, you have that. I also wonder, like, when the well's going to run dry, but. Mm-hmm. It's like every time they tell something new, it's like that makes sense to me, like why they would explain it. Rebels, as much as we're not fans of that show, the storyline and explaining where all this stuff comes from, and it's a great concept, to tell that sort of story. I thought that was really cool. One of the things that's interesting to me, you mentioned Kenobi. I did want to ask you about this. It's kind of on topic, kind of off topic. Are you in my camp? Like, and I think a lot of Star Wars fans are like this. I can't wait for this to come out and all the behind the scenes stuff to come out, because I know this is, for people like us, like we pretty much assume that this is the case, but are we in agreement that that's the Kenobi movie? Because that was what was supposed to be the film, the standalone film after Solo was going to be Kenobi. And then because Solo kind of tanked at the box office, air quotes, because it didn't tank, but they basically just took that script and chopped it into 4 pieces, because it's only a 4-episode series. Like, why would you have The Mandalorian be like 10 episodes long these seasons, or 8 or whatever? You have Andor, which is going to be 8 plus. I mean, and Kenobi is only 4, and it was supposed to be a movie. Like, are we in agreement that that's the movie script chopped into 4 pieces?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's kind of like a Zack Snyder's Justice League sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. We have an update from Steve. We'll pull it up here. Oh no! Oh, look at that! Right as I go to pull up Steve, I've got my idiot friend Brian that I do my Dream Theater podcast with. Look, he's trying to troll, and of course I clicked the wrong one. Go away, Brian. It's not your week. That's next Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talking into Infinity, if you like Dream Theater. Same bat time, same bat channel. Steve says, "Stupid power surged again." I'm really trying here, guys. Well, got it. It's not like you could help your power situation, Steve. It's all good, man. We got you. So,
oh, that's right. I was gonna say he could hotspot his phone for the internet, but whatever.
Yeah.
You can join StreamYard from a phone, actually.
Yeah, he could. All right. So Tyler Burkhart says, "I'd rather have shows over movies, get more content spread out rather than just the 2 hours." That's an interesting. See, Tyler, we've touched on this before, and I don't know what I prefer because I'm kind of on the fence with that because I like the drawn out stories like The Mandalorian, but there's something about going to the theater and having that 2.5 hour experience on the big screen with the loud sound and your friends are hanging out, you're eating popcorn and everything. Like, there's just something to that. So I don't know which I would prefer. I mean, where do you stand on that, AJ? I think you and I are the same in there. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're absolutely right. Especially after a year without being able to go, like it's even more of an experience now. It's like an event to go see a movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm chomping at the bit to get back to a theater just because I love that experience.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of that, and then we'll get back on topic. The hell with you, Cinemark. You had an experience available for $100, $150, where you could rent a theater and play your own movie. And I have the original cuts of the original trilogy, and I had like 50 people lined up to come to the theater and watch that with me, and I was going to sell seats for charity for an animal shelter. And then the week I went to book it, you stopped doing it. I could have made so much money for an animal shelter, but no, you had to take that option away. So anyways, all right, so we did the Obi-Wan thing. Yeah, I
guess my answer for the Obi-Wan thing also depends. Like, okay, so it's only 4 episodes. If it's like 4 30-minute episodes because we're literally just getting a 2-hour movie broken into 4 chapters, then no, I'm not cool with that. But if it's like 45-minute episodes or like towards an hour where they actually pad it out to make it feel like TV shows, all right, then that's bigger than what you would have gotten in a movie experience.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully they do that right. Cause like, well, I'm sure you've been loving Falcon and Winter Soldier, right?
I loved the first episode. I actually was so tired when I watched the second one Sunday night that I fell asleep halfway through. Not because it wasn't good, but I was so tired. But yeah, I'll put it this way. I already love Falcon and Winter Soldier way more than I liked WandaVision. So, but then again, Captain America, my favorite movie characters go Han Solo, Indiana Jones, Captain America. So, something related to Captain America, I'm obviously going to like. So,
well, that's why I didn't bring up WandaVision. But the thing I liked about the first episode right off the bat of Falcon and Winter Soldier was, you got to see the downtime, right? Like the stuff that would never make the cut in a movie. You would never see Falcon going and applying for a business loan or Bucky in therapy.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's what makes the characters much more compelling, is to get those downtime moments where they get to just be instead of be action heroes,
Yeah.
So like if the Kenobi series is padded out with more character moments that wouldn't have made the cut in a film, then yes, that's exactly what you use a streaming service for.
Yeah. I think that, you bring up a very good point, because I think that's one of the things that I enjoy the most about them exploring this time period between episode 3 and 4. Is that, you do get this stuff fleshed out, and it does, we always, Rogue One is a perfect example, right? All we knew about the rebellion was they were this little ragtag band of people, and you get one sentence in the opening crawl of A New Hope about, they've won their first victory against the Galactic Empire. It's like, and you just knew the Empire was way bigger than them, whatever. But then Rogue One, shows just how beat up and depleted, the Rebel Alliance really was compared to the Empire. And it kind of it fleshes things out, and it gives you those moments of, okay, well, it's not just all these heroes just look at me, I'm a good guy charging around fighting the Empire. Like, no, it was pretty, they were destitute basically in terms of resources and materials and soldiers, and it was pretty dire. And so I like that they do that. I still think that there's stories to be told. In thinking about this for tonight's show, and I'll wait on this, but I think there's a huge part of this era that has been unexplored, and I think that's why they can keep doing this. Where do you stand? Do you think it's dry? Do you think there's more to, there's our uncle trolling us. He always does this. He comes in every show. He says right now, our Uncle Tom, our chubby cherubic Uncle Tom, and he says, does anyone care about this crap? And yet, funnily enough, he's in like almost every show watching. So apparently he cares more than he lets on. So
Right.
I mean, so yeah. So do you think that the well is run dry? Do you think it's almost about to run dry? Where do you stand on this?
I think they've done a good job of. I noticed that a lot of the stories they're telling with their own characters now. So, like the entire Rogue One crew is their invention.
Yeah.
The Rebels crew is their invention. Saw Gerrera comes from Clone Wars, was made more famous in Rogue One. He's going to be in the Bad Batch series. That's their invention. So, what they've done is they've done a really good job of like slotting in an entire cast of characters that isn't tied to the Skywalker movies. So that part is cool. Like we get these little glimpses, and now they're just tying them all together by having them be so interconnected, right? I want to see what happens in the Kenobi series, though, because then you've got Ewan McGregor, a legitimate, saw him in the movies as Obi-Wan actor, and I want to see him interact with some of these newer characters that have come in that exist in this timeline now, right? Like that's the real connective tissue going to come through.
Right.
I actually wonder, I hadn't thought about this, but do you think there's any chance we'll see Ahsoka pop up in the Kenobi series now that they have a live action casting for her? Although they couldn't cast Rosario Dawson for her though, because she's like 30 years younger at this time.
Yeah, but with all the de-aging stuff they do, like, I mean, they could, but I almost feel like that would be kind of shoehorning things in. I really think the Kenobi series kind of has to exist solely within that Anakin Obi-Wan sort of realm. I mean, if you start bringing in all this other stuff, I mean, you could put Yoda in there, but I think if you start bringing in characters that never really had anything to do with Obi-Wan, pretty much. I mean, in the Clone Wars, she did, but I just think in the context of where this is set, that would just kind of feel like a little bit of, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? Like, it would seem a little bit forced.
Yeah, and if I remember right from the Ahsoka book, I think she was basically cut off from everybody during that time.
Yeah.
So, because when she left, she like straight up left.
Yeah. Rural Farm Boy says the well of Star Wars stories won't go dry for a long time. It's a galaxy. How many stories are there to be told? How big is a galaxy? Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I do think that you can get a little bit close to the edge, though.
I think you hit the nail on the head earlier. Like, you got to make sure the story matters.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to say. It's like, is there a point to it? Because otherwise, if you're just going to go, here's, a show about Grand Moff Tarkin, and he's just off running Star Destroyers. Like, well, who the hell cares? Like,
yeah,
seriously, who the hell cares?
That's why I'm really interested with this Kenobi series, because I read the Now Legends book Kenobi John Jackson Miller wrote, and that was the whole story. Was like, yeah, he was doing some stuff, living his life on Tatooine, but it was all framed in nobody could know who he was, and he couldn't really show that he was a Jedi.
Yeah,
and he couldn't do anything of real consequence, or else it would like throw off episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
So it's like from the very outset of reading the book and the premise, I'm like, well, we know this doesn't matter. It's like a little side quest.
Right.
It's like when the Legend of Zelda is going on, but you're busy collecting cuckoos in Kakariko Village, like who cares about the chicken hunt when you've got the Master Sword over there, right? Like,
right. Look, Steve says no to Ahsoka. At least I wouldn't think so, because she has her own series. Yeah, well, that's all you need to know right there. Like,
but I never thought that character would go beyond the Clone Wars, and yet she's been in Mandalorian, and she's been in book tie-ins, and she shows up in Rebels, and like now she's been in a ton of stuff. Like that's the favorite character to drop in.
Well,
like
but
her
I
and
think
Saw Gerrera just pop up in everything.
But I think she's so popular that it's like, again, they didn't know, and I think it was I think Ahsoka is a perfect example of a lesson learned from Darth Maul. Put Maul in episode 1, and everyone's like, holy crap, and then they cut him in half and kill him, air quotes, and all of a sudden, like, the fan base blows up, like, what the hell, that guy was awesome. Mm-hmm. So they scramble and bring him back, and then when they started out with the Ahsoka thing, everybody hated her. She was this annoying teenager type of character. And then, but she was a main character. So rather than kind of like brushing her aside, they just kept with it. And then all of a sudden, like, she just blows up. So they're like, all right, because they purposely didn't want to do a Maul to her, I think. So there was no, overreaction to, her not being very popular or whatnot. So yeah. Oh, look, Steve is trying to get on. So we might have Steve with us here in a second. So, yeah. Oh, look, there we go. Here he is. Steve is back. So what happened to you, man?
God, I'm so pissed right now. I sat down at 8:03 to open my email, and promptly at 8:05 I went and lost power. So yay.
Well, at least you've been listening, so you can at least be part of the conversation to where we're at.
I was trying to be somewhat professional.
Right.
I think you need to fix your audio there, bud. I think you're going through your. I think you pulled a me. I think you're going through your laptop mic instead of your regular mic.
Yeah, I definitely.
That thing in the corner of your picture is just a prop right now.
Technical difficulties. Yeah, so do you think there's anything that they haven't told that still requires explaining? Because I kind of think that there's an interesting thing that they haven't delved into.
I can't really think of one. Like, even Ahsoka herself was an answer to a question that was never asked.
Right.
So what have you got?
They haven't done a show yet. I mean, I think it's coming, but they haven't done anything from the perspective of the Empire. It's like strictly, look at all these good guys, and the Empire is always the bad guy. They have not done the reverse. They've not flipped the script and really shown what the Empire is doing, why they're doing it, and by the same token, and you've mentioned this on previous episodes, AJ, like, shown like hellacious things that the rebels have done to make them kind of look like they're not exactly pristine. And obviously there's a lot of time between episodes 3 and 4, so there's a lot of stuff there to get into. So
I feel like that's the Endor series. Like, he alluded to it in the movie. He said, we've all done things we're not proud of, horrible things, so on and so forth.
Right.
I think the series is where you get to see some of that stuff. That I would really like to see that, actually. Because really, I mean, if you look at it, the rebels are terrorists. The established government is the Empire. So we've only seen it from the rebels' perspective, but if from the Empire's perspective, the rebels are terrorists. It's like going after ISIS,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think they'll address it because that show is more, again, it's centered around the rebels. It's not like he started out, as an Imperial officer like Han Solo did. So, I don't think that's what's. I don't think that's what they're going to show. I really think there's a whole other show that's like from their perspective. Like where everybody on the show is, the Empire's considered the protagonist rather than the antagonist. And again, I mean, you could always just do the reverse. Like just take stuff that you've seen in other shows, but then show it from the opposite viewpoint. I mean, that would be something that'd be really interesting. Kind of like flip the script on stuff.
Yeah, they've done that in video games a couple of times, but never on TV or anything.
Yeah. All right. Look, I'm going to
Isn't that part of those? Isn't that part of the Squadron storyline? Like, don't you follow the Empire for a while in that game?
Yeah, you do both. You do both. That game is so much fun. I haven't played it in a while. I got to get back into that. So
I don't think I've ever played it.
Well, you got to get on it, man. It's fun as hell.
Eh.
All right. So Mark Thrasher says, "Are we ready to talk real Star Wars?" You know what? We're gonna do that episode with him. Just put it on your calendar, Mark. You're getting on here, and we are going to hash out episode 7. And I'm going to, pardon the pun, I'm going to thrash you. I've had enough of hearing crap from you about that movie. So we're gonna get on here and we're gonna hash it out. So just get your stuff ready and make sure you sound and look good. Damn Baltimore Raven fan. All right. Anyway. All right. So here we go. Rural Farm Boy says, "I think, in my opinion, Lost Star Wars story was told from the Empire's point of view, though not shown on screen."
Oh, Lost Stars, the book. Yeah, that's one of the
Yeah.
ones that I have not checked out. Wasn't that one of the lead-ins to Force Awakens?
I don't know. I'm a terrible fan because I'm not fully up to speed on the novels. I really try and get into them, and for some reason, it's just they don't grab me. As
Well,
they
that
do
makes me a
other
worse
things.
fan because I'm not trying to keep up with the novels. So.
I try. I'm still trying to hash my way through the first High Republic novel. So
That one is good.
okay.
That one is good.
Well,
I finished that one.
I'm sure that by the time I get through with it, the second one and third one will have been out. So at least I'll have a lot to read. So, all right, Steve. So what do you think? I mean, now that you're up and running and everything.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah. So
Do you like getting all these stories between episode 3 and 4?
I could take it or leave it, honestly. Like I was thinking about it earlier today that I think part of the, at least personally, for me, like part of the allure of what's going on with the MCU right now is that everything is continuing, that it's all going, it's following, everything's new. And, like every time you turn around on Star Wars, and I probably just left again because my Chrome is screwing up.
No, you're here. Well,
he's
your
been
audio is
frozen.
here.
yeah, his audio's here. Oh, is he still there?
And now his
I don't-
audio's gone.
Yep.
I'm
Man.
going.
That was a
No.
great freeze frame, though.
No, I'm back. Am I here again?
You're
Yeah.
there again.
Yeah, I'm talking and it's okay. Piece of friggin' shit. I'm at the point in my life where I like the stories continuing. I don't think I need to be force fed every stupid little detail between 3 and 4 all the time. Like, I'm not saying I'm not going to enjoy this stuff or that it's not going to be good. It's just that, honestly, I'm kind of over it, for lack of a better term. Like, I'd rather just see the story continue than to constantly go back in time and keep revisiting the same area over and over and over again. Is kind of where I'm at with it right now.
Do you think that telling those stories can help explain things that we're seeing in like the current timeline?
It's possible to, like, that they could do that to maybe tie something into what went through 7, 8, and 9, but I don't know. I'm ready to see new Star Wars, I guess. Like, I don't know. I'm strange with it, I guess. I'd rather see something new than to constantly see the same thing over and over again right now.
It almost seems kind of like a comfort food. Like, rather than trying some new fancy recipe, they're just like, let's go with mashed potatoes and gravy. Like,
Yeah.
Which I don't have a problem with. Because
Absolutely.
I love that era and everything. And I think it's weird. Like, I see both sides of that because I love exploring that era because it's really where the galactic conflict as we came to know it, like, really exploded. So I think there's a lot of stuff there that makes a lot of sense for them to tell those stories. But yeah, I like that they're still telling new stories at the same time, though. So I guess I don't have a problem with it because they are telling new stories.
Yeah.
They're not just leaving it hang out there as, well, we're just gonna, stay here and episode 3 and episode 4, like, 18 years, whatever.
That would be extremely annoying if they just told those stories like that. So yeah, I know they're giving us new stuff as well, but I don't know. It's almost, for lack of a better term, it's kind of lazy that they want to keep staying in that same era as much as they do, where, love or hate the prequels. I mean, Lord knows there's a ton of stuff we could actually get if you wanted to dive into the prequels a little bit more,
Yeah.
or just new stories in general after 9, since the whole world hated the sequel trilogy and everything, maybe something past 9 to try to justify what 7, 8, and 9 were, maybe, instead of we all loved 4, 5, 6. So, like, I understand trying to stay around that era because that's what people love the most, but at the same point, it's kind of like, let's just try something new or something in a different era that people don't like so much, so maybe they'll like that era a little more, possibly.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of a related question here. One subscriber with 100 vids challenge asks us, random off-topic question, kind of on topic, ironically. Would you guys ever consider doing a podcast where you each explain what you'd change about the movies? Yeah, I would do that. I don't know. That would be a tough one. Like, I would do it, but it's difficult because like I wouldn't want it to come across like I'm crapping on the movies and saying that I can do better. I mean, anybody that's listened to the show knows that one of our biggest pet peeves are, you know, that segment of the online fandom that's like, well, I didn't get what I wanted and this sucks. Like, well, what would you have done? Like, well, you think you could do better than guys that make billions of dollars? Like, so, I mean, I would do it. I would just...
With us three, it would be really hard to not just start retconning, but especially with us three, it would be really hard to not start retconning absolute dog crap. Like, it would just go off the rails so fast. Like, they would turn into Monty Python movies within about 60 seconds of us trying to figure out what we'd change.
And microphones and cameras doesn't make our stuff any more than fan fiction. So
no,
yeah,
it's just like every other voice online saying what they would do. We just do it through audio and video instead of with our keyboards. So, I don't know if that really makes it any better.
If we ever did that, we would have to have one thing be off limits. Carrie Poppins is off limits because we would all start with that. So let's just move on from that. So that would be number one.
That's probably true.
Yeah. Thank goodness that space whales aren't in the movies, because you know what my 1B would be? 1A would be Carrie Poppins. Actually, you know what? 1A would be space whales. 1B would be Carrie Poppins. So I think I could go with Carrie Poppins.
Kidding? That's how I'm ending episode 8, is Carrie Poppins riding a space whale like the damn nuke at the end of Blazing Saddles.
If you mention that again, I'm removing you from the broadcast. Oh my gosh!
It's just Princess Leia riding a space whale like a nuke down onto
and she goes she goes right into the world between worlds, and just the triple whammy.
Yeah.
Like, nope, don't
just
think
right into the middle of Starkiller Base.
Yep. So where are you at, AJ, with this? I mean, do you think you've had enough, or do you think they're riding that line? Are you ready to see more? I mean, where are you with this?
It's tough because I love the characters in that era so much, but it feels like there's only so much you can cram into this time period before it feels like we should have seen it on a cinematic level.
Okay.
Like 4, 5, and 6 were epic movie trilogies. 1, 2, and 3 was epic movie trilogy. If there's like any more stuff crammed in after this in this 20-year period, I'm like, that should have been a trilogy then. Like, you could have made movies from that, and instead we got like a book, a comic, a web series, a cartoon series, a streaming series. Like, you just put out movies worth of material in other forms.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like hold that stuff to the same standard because we still believe like the movies are like top level canon, right? And everything else is kind of supportive tissue still. So if we're supposed to care that much, it should be in a movie.
And to piggyback what you're saying, AJ, if you get too much detail, let's just say between 3 and 4 for sake of the conversation, it's going to get to a point that you're going to rewatch episode 4 and wonder, how come none of this other stuff was mentioned? Because there's obviously going to be some big time details that are getting explained to you that you're going to go, well, how the hell did they not acknowledge this then? Yeah. You know, so it's like there really is a fine line of telling too many stories in that time period, because then it's going to be missing, you know, from, you know, episode 4 to 5 or something like that. You're like, well, where the hell are the Death Troopers or whatever, something like that you're going to go, dude, this was such a big story that it's not even acknowledged, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, there's only so many times you can pull the whole, well, the galaxy's massive. Just because you didn't see it in the movie doesn't mean it wasn't there. It was like just off screen.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. I tend to not worry about that sort of thing because they they've done a pretty damn good job of explaining everything, and they kind of think about that. Like, well, if we tell this story, that's going to open this door. That so they write it in such a way that things that have already been seen on screen, they're not going to have plot holes there. So I personally don't really worry about that. I really think they've done a good job of protecting that. I mean, I still to this day, like the one thing that I remember as the one thing where they haven't really explained it away, because there's not really a way to do so, is a line in Return of the Jedi where, talking about, when Leia and Luke are talking about their mother, mostly thoughts, mostly feelings or whatever, and Luke's like, I have no memory of my mother. Like, well, okay, well, so was that, and maybe I missed something along the line. So if I'm an idiot for this, but either Bail Organa's wife died real early in Leia's life, or that line just there's no way to explain it away. Like well, you don't have memories of your mother because she croaked when you were like 30
Don't worry,
seconds old.
I got this one. I can totally cover this.
Okay.
Obi-Wan takes baby Leia using the world between worlds to meet Padme, and then puts her right back again in Alderaan. Travels there on a space whale, by the way.
Why you like try and piss me off during these shows? I hate that concept. It's terrible. You know how hard it is to like Star Wars Twitter and is such a cesspool as it is. I mean, there's like it's
if
so
we have
hard.
any artists in the audience, draw me that. We will post it on our Twitter feed for sure, guaranteed.
And then that'll be the day that I quit the damn show. I'm serious, man. Like Star Wars Twitter is already a cesspool. It's hard to go on there because there's so much negativity and stuff. And then when I see all these people like Rebels is the greatest thing ever, I'm like, don't tweet, don't be part of the problem. Don't be part of the problem. Like, like last week I got involved in a conversation. Thankfully, it remained positive and it was civil. But it was about how great the Obi-Wan Maul fight was in Rebels, and I'm just like, oh god.
Which one?
Yeah,
the 2 second long one where he killed Maul?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was there another one? Was there even one?
I didn't watch it.
So they were it was so cinematic. It was all about the build-up. They were in that camp, huh?
Exactly. Like, oh, it was written just like this Kurosawa thing, and I was like, no, it was written like a shit thing. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you know what? Screw this. It's my show. I could go off on a little tangent here. Since we're talking about between episodes 3 and 4, the Maul Obi-Wan fight was crap. Okay, it sucked. I don't want to hear about Kurosawa and artistic this, that, and the other. You're waiting years and years for Obi-Wan and Maul to fight. Then they build it up in the show, and he steps out and like, and they're done. What the hell is that? And don't give me this, well, it was cool because, he used the same move that, used to kill Qui-Gon. He turned the tables. Who cares? And then make the effing thing last like 15 seconds. Give me something. It made Maul look like a chump. No, it showed the difference between how much they progressed. He was in his hatred. No, it made Maul look like a chump. If you're that much of a beast, you could survive getting cut in half and going crazy and living underground like a spider. And then you come out and you get hacked in half in a second and a half. That's crap. That's crap. That is crap. It's crap. It's crap. It sucks. It sucks. And I'm tired of not saying that out loud. It sucked. It sucked.
You do know that Obi-Wan kicked Maul's ass many times, right?
I don't
They did
care.
a few times in the Clone Wars, and Maul lost every time.
Well, that's
Unless
fine,
he
but
had
I don't
backup.
care.
So
They
that
don't
was like the 5th or 6th time they met, and Obi-Wan owned him every friggin' time.
Well, then don't have the penultimate battle last like 2 seconds. If he's already faced him and he lasted
then Maul
a
should be
while,
better, shouldn't he?
Exactly. That's my point. That was stupid. You know what? I don't want artistic. I want lightsabers kicking ass, okay? If I want art, I'll go to the damn art museum, okay? I'll watch like a freaking Tarantino flick or whatever, like, Kubrick or something. I'm watching Star Wars, okay? I don't need some cinematic gold. I want to see Obi-Wan and Maul doing flips off of mountains, chucking crap at each other, like giving each other the finger and all this other stuff. Like, don't give me 2 seconds. That was garbage.
But he just
sorry, everybody.
He stabs
we
Maul.
Need
and
the bird.
Maul,
yes.
He stabs Maul, and then Maul lazily falls into Obi-Wan's arms, and he whispers Rosebud into his ear.
Exactly. I am so sorry. I people that love that, I'm sorry. I'm not ripping on you. It's how I feel. And
no, it's deservedly so, because you got to think about what about the lightsaber battle with him and Palpatine in the Clone Wars? That was what, 5 minutes of just amazing lightsaber battling. And that's what the friggin' Emperor,
yes.
But friggin' Obi-Wan goes, "Hey, look over there, something shiny," and Maul turns around and looks and gets stabbed in the chest, and that's it. Like, really?
Yeah. Like, I mean, was it cool that he killed him using the move that Maul killed Qui-Gon with? Yes. But have him do that after like a minute or two, not just like the first thing, like, I've been waiting for this forever. Like, what the hell was that? Like, come on.
Or at least have Obi-Wan go, "Gotcha, bitch."
Fooled you. Again, I'm sorry.
30 years to get you back with this same move. How's it feel, bum?
And again, for people, I know there's a lot of people out there that love it. I swear to God, I'm not ripping on your opinion, and I'm sorry if it comes across as that. I was so disappointed in that, and I try to keep it positive, and I've been holding that in forever. Just, one of these times I'll go off on Space Whales, and then that one, I'll just go solo for that. This is what that'll be. So guys, I got something to say. So let me tell you about Space Whales. Here it goes. Just drop you guys off the screen, mute your mics, and then I will just ramble for 30 minutes about Space Whales.
I honestly think you have a legitimate point, though, as a fan of Darth Maul. Like, that's a trash way to just end the story for that guy. If that was some dude that just appeared in that television series, 6 episodes ago, and he dies that way, okay, who cares? But you have years invested into being a fan of Darth Maul. You both have more than the average fan, because you hung out and got drunk with Darth Maul.
I did do that, yes.
Even though Sam Witwer is the animated one, but you know what I'm saying. So you have a vested interest in the character. So it does feel really crappy on your end to see him go out that way. And even when that happened, the fact that it was getting shared as a Twitter clip in 5 seconds, I think all of us collectively went, "Wait, that's it? That's what we're doing right now? That's it?" And it just made no sense. It was silly.
Star Wars trolled us. It was supposed to be like a teaser, but it was actually the entire fight.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
It really was.
Listen, they know how the WWE gets you at WrestleMania every 5-6 years with that squash match.
The squash match, yeah.
that was it right there.
Yep, it really was. It was. Yeah.
That whole thing felt like they realized where they were at in the timeline. They're like, okay, episode 4 is right around the corner. Oh crap, Maul's still alive. What do we do? I got it. Yeah.
And they just had storyboards on the walls and stuff, and they sat back and realized, God, we need 6 more episodes if we're going to tell this properly. And they went to Disney. Disney's can't do it, so they just ripped down everything. And they just had the first and the last storyboard, and they said, "Well, make it happen, boys."
Yep. Exactly. So what are we gonna do? Maul dies at the hands of Obi-Wan. Okay. What else? And then somebody goes, Obi-Wan uses the move Maul used to kill Qui-Gon, and then everybody goes, yeah. What else?
Okay, great setup.
Yep.
Build on that. Build on that.
Guys, people are just like, and then somebody
Bonfire?
somebody's like, F it, that's good, we got it, we're done. Moving
Guys,
on, next episode.
It's 4:59, boys. We're at to wrap this up. You know what? let's just say he stabs him when Maul like blinks. Screw it. Let's go.
Pablo Hidalgo happens to walk past the meeting at that time. Oh, that's kind of like Kurosawa. Yes, justification. There we go. We nailed it.
Yep, that's exactly what we were going for.
It's all artistic and shit. Awesome. Yeah,
Did someone say Seven Samurai? Okay. It's good enough for me.
As much as I'm ranting about this, I think it kind of does speak to, the whole topic that we're talking about, is that, how much is too much when you're talking about just this one time period. It's like, there's so many things to tell that you're either going to miss some, you're going to shoehorn something in, or, potentially miss something because you've told all these stories and you have to move on. You're like, oh crap, we could have told that. Like, this is kind of a perfect example, I think. It's like you've got this big build up to this big fight, and it's just it was like a wet sparkler. It did nothing.
That is the trouble with this time period, is you've got they've invented a whole bunch of characters for Clone Wars. So everyone's like, well, what happened to those guys? If they didn't show up in Rebels, then, what happened to them? Okay. But we've also seen that Rex is in the trailer for Bad Batch, and we already know what happened to Rex. So we don't really need that story. And then if they introduce new characters, then you have to account for their whereabouts in 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
So they put Fennec Shand in, and I guess you could say well, she just wasn't part of the story. That's fine. But anybody else they bring in, if it's a prequel character and they're not dead by the end of this era, then what happened? And if it's a new character, then you have to explain why they weren't part of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
So it's a minefield of storytelling.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? You mentioned the Bad Batch. Why don't we talk about that real quick, because that was kind of, big news yesterday. The trailer, the official trailer was released for the Bad Batch. Mm-hmm. And I haven't finished the Clone Wars. I'll be completely transparent here. I'm still working through it. I like it, but it hasn't grabbed me to where it's must see TV for me. So I kind of watch it, in pieces here and there. Steve, did you watch the trailer?
I did not. That's why I made a face when you mentioned that. I was like, shit, I totally forgot to watch that trailer.
Man,
you know how trailers go for this, though. If you remember any Clone Wars season trailers ever, it's 2 minutes of stuff that's probably all in either the first 2 episodes or in the final 2 episodes of the season.
Right.
Okay.
So whatever we're looking at here, I'm we might have seen half the pilot for all we know.
Yeah. It's only the pilot just chopped up in different order.
Right.
I thought it was cool. Like I said, I haven't seen that far into the Clone Wars, but I've seen a little bit of it. I know, AJ, you and I saw that kind of animatic version of one of those episodes at Celebration. We saw that before that was the 7th season was a thing. Mm-hmm. I think it's cool. I think if you're going to expand on the Clone Wars, which I think for them is always a smart decision, because that's a super popular. It's a super popular show amongst the fan base. I mean, anytime they go Clone Wars, it was if you're going to explore something, the Bad Batch is where it's at. That was an interesting storyline. I will say that they better have 99 in there because I think everybody wants. Did he?
Sorry for the spoiler, but that was season 3, episode 1.
Well, apparently I haven't gotten there yet. Damn it!
Sorry,
man,
you
ruined it.
That was 2010. I think the spoiler limit has expired.
Yeah, I know. Damn. Well, there goes that. Hey,
statute of limitations is passed on that one, I think.
well, then have a flashback. Whatever. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah. Well, again, I haven't gotten that far, so that shows you how far into the show I am.
I
And
will
yet,
say, though,
I've seen stuff from later seasons and everything, and I've seen all of season 7. So.
Yeah. The little bit that I do remember when I did binge watch the entire end of the Clone Wars series and everything, I did like the Bad Batch episodes, so I am kind of excited to watch it because I thought they were kind of like a cool little group. It was different, like the Clone Wars, like almost as a whole was kind of like the same stuff, because it was always centered around the same characters. So having those guys kind of be like a secondary main character for a set of episodes was kind of just like fresh. So I liked them. I dug that little, probably 3 or 4 episodes that those guys were in that season.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
yeah, I'm all right with that.
See, I'm having a hard time getting into it because I didn't really go for the Bad Batch idea. This whole thing of like, well, they're basically like super soldiers. So it's a bunch of Captain Americas running around. Like the dude like lifted an entire gunship by himself. And the fact that they all look different, like the whole point of the clones was that they're all the same. So when you start like making these like superhero characters out of clones, that was one of those ones. I think we talked about this a couple of years ago, actually, where like I was okay before they announced season 7 was even happening or Disney Plus was even a thing. We saw those story reels and I was like, I'm kind of glad that one didn't make air. Like that would not have been a good one.
Yeah.
And yet now it's a whole series. So
right.
Prove me wrong.
It's almost like a microcosm of what we're talking about. Like, do we need this particular story? We've already got the full Clone Wars arc. Now, do we need the Bad Batch arc? Alexander says, reading the video description, do we really need, The same thing could have easily been said about the prequels, the Clone Wars, the Mandalorian. And yeah, that's a good point. And I think, the Bad Batch, I think, falls in there. It's a perfect thing. I think, do we need the prequels? I think so. Clone Wars, maybe not. Mandalorian, maybe not. I think the prequels we did need, but since you mentioned the Clone Wars, Alex, again, that's a perfect way to look at the Bad Batch. Like, do we need extra stories about the Bad Batch? Is that going to affect anything in the larger canon? Or is this just, hey, you guys really like the Bad Batch and the Clone Wars, so we're just going to throw this out there? So I think that's a question that they're going to have to answer. But with this show, AJ, you're the one of us that's, you're a huge Clone Wars fan. So, would you agree that you basically kind of have to? They have to have something in this show to make it worthwhile, because this could fall under what we were talking about at the beginning of the show about it being pointless if it doesn't tie into something larger.
The one thing that the trailer showed is that they started out working for the Empire. Like they got through Order 66 because they were clones. And then it seems like at some point they either the Empire turned on them or vice versa. So it is going to be kind of cool to see that transition period, right? Like it wasn't like Order 66 happened and then in come the stormtroopers. Like what happened to all the clones? Did they all die off from the inhibitor chips going off, or were they phased out? Did they become like second-class citizens or something?
Yeah.
Like Isaiah, what's his nuts from the second episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, where they're like, yeah, they just put me in jail to hide me because they didn't know what to do with me after they were done using me. Like,
yeah.
So that transition could be cool could be cool to see. But as far as them as central characters, I never really cared. So I think that's.
Go ahead,
sorry, I think that's their problem with every new series, though, right? It's like first you have to give us a reason to give a shit, and then you have to pay it off.
Yeah, that's honestly what I'm worried about, is that it's not that it's really just going to be, hey, here's some more Clone Wars because you dig it. Which I'm okay with that. As I've said in the past, I'm fine with fan service
it's actually
stuff,
here's some more Clone Wars because we already paid for the animation rigs. So, season 7 of the Clone Wars makes way more sense now, knowing that the Bad Batch is coming out. Because
Right.
I'm like, why would they spend all this money to spin up Clone Wars animation again?
Yeah.
Oh, because they're going to use it for a whole new series. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So real quick, Joseph Wren is back. What is up, man? Joseph Wren, he is my buddy Joe that got all my computer stuff fixed. So now I have a brand new machine and everything's working beautifully. So thank you for that. He has a question. He says, "Isn't the Bad Batch a quote unquote new perspective on the story we already know? It's not really anything new, or am I wrong?" Yeah, you are actually wrong in that. Not that it's not your fault. But for anybody who does not know what the Bad Batch is, they're they're mutant clones. It's like basically a unit of mutant clones, and they were basically like not. They were. You can explain it better than I am, AJ. But they're mutant clones, and they're basically like they're kind of effed up, so they don't like follow the rules like the standard clone would and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was a deliberate thing. They were tinkering with them on purpose.
Yeah.
Which is a very weird thing to do when you're like less than a year from winning the war with Order 66. So maybe the Emperor didn't actually know that he was about to win. Like, why would you bring out all the special stuff now?
Yeah.
You were doing just fine with the standard clones.
The Emperor was too busy worried about cloning himself. What if I died one day? And then in like, I don't know, 40, 50 years, I got to come back and be in hiding and make a whole fleet and everything. And, ooh, look at that red thing. You know what color I like? Red. So yeah, Joe, the Bad Batch is a different thing. They're clones, but yeah, again, like I have no problem with it. I think it'll be cool, because it is kind of a different spin on the normal, Clone Wars stuff. But again, I really hope that it's something that, there's something that comes out of this. It ties into something larger. I like when they do that. So, all right. So Ralph Bowsher says, "Needs Solo a Star Wars story too." Now, we're talking about. Yes,
he wins the night.
Yes.
He wins the night.
Yep.
That's the tweener story that we need right there.
I was just about to say, like, we asked
or
the
like
story
3 seasons of a TV show. That'd be cool too.
Dude, that is like the biggest crime in all of Star Wars. I think anybody who refused to go see Solo in the theater because they're being a pissant about The Last Jedi should not be allowed to watch Solo and future content, because people like that stole Solo 2 from us.
Solo was a movie ahead of its time. Ahead of its time, one, because it came out too soon after Last Jedi, and two, because that movie would have been one hell of a pilot for a series. Like if that had come out on Disney Plus, people would have been losing their minds for it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying that maybe instead of a Solo 2, they released Solo 1 as like a 2-hour pilot for just a solo show, and then what we're thinking as a storyline for Solo 2 would just be the remainder of the show?
Well, I'm just retconning, saying like if instead of putting Solo out as a movie in theaters, if that had been like a 2-hour pilot to a streaming series, that would have gone over great. But people were comparing it to the other movies that had come out, and it didn't stand up.
See, I don't think they were. I don't think they were comparing it. I think people didn't go. I mean, you saw that all over the internet. I'm not going.
Right.
I'm not giving them my money. So I don't think it was a comparison. I think that was people just being a-holes.
But if they were already shoveling money at Disney Plus, and here comes Solo the series, people would have watched it, and people would have given it a much fairer shake, I think.
They put out Solo 2 on Disney Plus, but they've got like a gatekeeper thing, like a questionnaire. Did you go see Solo in the theater? If the answer is no, did you just not see it because you didn't have time, or did you not see it because you didn't like The Last Jedi? If they answered that, like they're instantly blocked from Solo 2. They could never see it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you back. Like, yeah, no.
Yeah, when you go
Solo
log
2,
into Disney Plus to watch that, it just never loads. It never works.
Yeah, it just comes up with a big middle finger. Yeah,
or maybe it's the ultimate troll. Maybe the story of Solo, A Star Wars Story 2, is actually the story of Rhoda the Hutt. Remember Stinky from the Clone Wars movie? I saw that. There was a video that came up from Star Wars Explained the other day, and it's a good question. What happened to him? Like, he shows up in the Clone Wars movie and never again. Like, did Jabba eat his own kid or something? Like, where the hell is this other Hutt?
There was a reason he didn't show up again. There was a very good reason.
Are you being speciest to the Hutts? Don't give me that sass.
You do that so well.
Such a bad character.
I know. See, that's what we should have like chalked up things that we don't. Yeah. How much is too much? Things we don't need. Yeah. Zero the Hutt, Rhoda the Hutt. Like, oh my gosh. Oh, I love that you could do Zero the Hutt so well, though.
Instead of Solo 2, we should do Solo 0. Hello.
So bad.
I'll get all up with the Bounty Hunters Guild, and I'll go to prison, and Cad Bane will break me out, and then I'll get shot by the love of my life, Sauce Noodles. After I see my fat mama.
I forgot about Size Noodles in the romance. Oh my god.
Who
comes up-
Snoodles.
Who comes up with this crap? And how long did they have a job after it actually got on screen? Yeah. Okay, so who gets fired? So really, who gets fired? The person that comes up with ideas like that, or the one that actually says, "Yeah, it's going on screen," and animates it? It's like, here it goes. Like,
It takes a lot of yes men to make that happen. That's bad, man.
I just can't imagine being around a table and be like, "So I got this idea," and a whole bunch of other people going, "Yeah, that's a really good idea." So this really obnoxious Hutt with a terrible voice is in love with Size Noodles. Awesome. That's what the fans have been waiting for.
You know, it
Here's
is
the
National
catch.
Trans Day.
Here's the catch.
It is National Trans Day. We need to respect Zero. They want to talk about making a big hullabaloo about those new characters they released for the High Republic as being non-binary trans, but really, what was Zero?
Well,
Was
that's the
he just
question.
a super effeminate male character, or was he kind of trans or poly or what?
Or was he actually like homosexual? Like, I guess.
We're assuming
we'll never
Sai
know.
Stills was a woman, right?
I think
Or maybe
so.
Sai was a drag queen.
Well, she had lipstick.
That,
I mean,
that doesn't mean shit.
I know,
I've
but
seen
I'm saying
RuPaul.
so that. Well, I know that, but I'm saying it could be a drag queen. I mean, like you say, it could be female because of the lipstick. Could be a drag queen because of the lipstick. Could be anything. I mean, at this point,
I'm
it
surprised
really
they
could
didn't-
be anything.
Right. I'm surprised they didn't bring that out. Like, hey, here's some new trans characters, but by the way, we have done this kind of thing before, just so you know.
We're treading very dangerous ground right now.
Zero, voice of the woke.
Like, all right, what do you guys got an idea for this new character? Oh, well, it's gonna be a Hutt, but the catch is they're apparently from the deep bayou.
Mixed in with a little bit of Vegas showgirl too.
Yeah. So apparently the Hutts are from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you go from Jabba to the next Hutt you see being that?
Yeah. Yeah, Jabba with the solo, and then the other guy speaks perfect English but with a horrible accent.
Now remember though, this was Lucas era. That was George's
Dan.
idea.
Look at Dan Terry triggered. That's funny. Oh, well,
But that was George
I mean,
Lucas's idea. He was calling all the shots for that one.
That's
It wasn't until a couple years later that he was basically hands off.
I honestly, that's a whole nother episode, is to go through ideas that have been rumored to have been his ideas, like things that of his that didn't work, and then things after, the Disney sale that have come out and said, well, he was going to do this, he wanted to do this, like what would work and what wouldn't work, because holy crap, was there a lot that wouldn't have worked. Like,
I am surprised that he's writing an episode for the Andor series and not for the Kenobi series. Like, you'd think he would be working with the characters he invented, not the ones he didn't.
Well, no, because you know what? I would disagree because I think him doing Andor, it's a fresh perspective. Like writing Kenobi, he did that for how many episodes of the Clone Wars and all of the prequels and all of the like he's done Kenobi. But Cassian Andor is a whole other thing. So basically what you're doing is, okay, we've got this character that you didn't write. It's a whole era you never explored. And we want to get, the maker, everyone calls him the maker. We want to get the maker's take on, what, we want you to write a story, a fresh story that you've never done before. So I cannot wait for that because I want to see if you could totally tell exactly which one he wrote. And obviously they're going to tell us beforehand, but I think it would be interesting for them not to. And then after the season's out, see if you can go back and be like, oh, that was totally George Lucas,
Mm-hmm.
To see if like he writes something that like you have no idea that it's him and you love it and you're like, holy crap, he could still write that stuff. But then again, you're gonna have the fans will be all pissed off. Damn it, if you could do that, why did you come up with Zero the Hutt? Like
Right.
stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, it's a super small sample size, but like that little bit that he contributed to Solo, right, where she's playing with the capes and then Han just drops it on the ground instead of putting it back on the hanger. That was George on set that day going like, Han wouldn't hang that thing up. He just let that thing drop. He's busy getting his piece.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is actually a perfect Han Solo move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's going to put Lando's cape away carefully. Come on.
Right. So Dan Terry says, I think George Lucas clearly was wanting to do something different if you look at some of his ideas for the sequel trilogy. Well, I mean, if you mean by some of his ideas, I mean, the whole idea was that I can't believe he wanted to do this, like delve deeper into midichlorians, like a trilogy about midichlorians is the rumor. Like that to me,
Star Wars and Quantum Mania.
Yeah, seriously, like it's the quantum realm or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We need more context, but just the fact that he wants to dive deeper into midichlorians at all shows a certain bit of stubbornness and tone deafness. It's a whole nother episode, so we won't get into it in detail here, but that was one of those things that was almost universally crapped on, the midichlorians. And then he's like, well, I'm going to write a whole bunch more about it. Like, I get it. You're pissed at the fans for yelling at you about the prequels, but...
And by the way, Jar Jar's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's more green screen. Everything is green screen.
Yeah.
There's no, all the actors are animated, but they look
what
real.
we did? We had a blue screen on set. We swapped it for a green screen in post, and then swapped the green screen for effects.
There's green screen on green screen on blue screen on green screen. Suck it.
That's like that. I gotta download these to the computer so I can pull these up sometime to put on screen. But that those Lego kits, the fake Lego kits I shared with you guys, it's like it's the box and it says episode 3 movie set, and it's literally just a big pile of green bricks, and there's a minifig of Anakin and Obi-Wan standing there.
That's going to be a Lego Celebration exclusive at some point. Is going to be like dude in mocap suit.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, K2SO.
Yep. I have one that's the Constable Zuvio figure, and it shows like, the first step is him completed. So then it says, it's got the steps of putting them together, and then like the third step, it shows an arrow of like the figure going into the trash, and then the last one is just an empty square, and that's the Constable Zuvio figure. I have a bunch of those. They are hilarious. Like it's like there's a Minoc one, and it's just like a Minoc, and then the second step is or Gundark. It's a Gundark one, and then it's like it just shows the thing, and then the second step is pulling the ears off. And then so, like I'll have to download those to the computer here and like pull those up at some point because they are hilarious.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, all right. Well,
we got one last thing to share though. One last thing to share. In you were talking about you got your Babu Frick and stuff.
Yes.
Don't forget, your wife also did some stuff this week, didn't she?
Oh yes, she did. Yeah, she added to her
Like-
sleeve. She added to her sleeve. There we go.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yep, she got the R2 part. For anybody listening, you're not going to get this because we're pulling it up on screen on the video podcast. But that is my wife's shoulder. She got the R2, the big R2, at Celebration Chicago, and then just this past weekend she went to the same artist because he's actually from a town called Bucyrus, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from us.
Good old Bucky Russ. Yeah.
Yeah, Bucky Russ, exactly. But yeah, Brenton Potter, who we become friends with, he's an official Lucasfilm licensed tattoo artist, and she got you can't see 3PO or Dio in this, but she got K2, she got BB-8, 3PO, and Dio added to her sleeve. So now she's got droids from the top of her shoulder all the way down a teeny bit past her elbow. So she's officially got way more Star Wars tattoos than I do, way more colorful ones. So
I believe we're looking for this one then.
Oh yeah, the picture of the back of her arm where you can see Dio and 3PO. Oh, there we go. There's Dio and 3PO. So man, it's so cool, man. I'm so jealous. It's funny because like I'm the huge Star Wars nerd. Like she loves it. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, if you were to take a picture, you know, of it, just say whose arm is this in the family, they're like, oh, it's John's. Nope, nope, that's my wife.
Yep.
So yeah, it looks great, man. Brenton did a really, really good job. So if you know, if you're in the Northeast or Central Ohio area, anywhere within driving distance of Bucyrus, go to the Tattoo Factory and hit up Brenton. He does fantastic work. So definitely check that out. So all right. So on that note, we will close up shop for the evening. Thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode. Glad I'm finally out of Facebook live stream jail, so we could actually go on all of our platforms. So yeah, once again, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. You can get customizable Nerfherder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. If you are watching the video broadcast and want to check out the show at a later date on audio platforms, we're pretty much everywhere. So just Google the Nerfherder Council and you can find us all over the place. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those good places. So check that out. And if you are watching on the video, please remember to click the like, subscribe, and share button so that you can get notified when we are going live, which is every other Wednesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So to my buddies Dan and Joe, thanks for hanging out, guys. I haven't talked to you guys in a while. We got to hook up sometime. Jump online, do one of those Zoom calls where we end up online for 8 hours, end up hammered accidentally. So thanks, Ralph Bowsher. Obviously, thanks to Rural Farm Boy, KXM, Matt Sherrick. Good to see you, man. We'll have to have you on again sometime soon. Mark Thrasher. Again, I'm going to destroy you in a debate about episode 7. So until then, I am your host, JT, at Dog Pound Jedi. He is AJ.
At Drake Adams 579.
He is Steve.
At Nerfherder Steve.
And we will catch you